So the Miami Hurricanes official 2024 schedule has dropped, and I'm not going to lie, it looks quite favorable. But we're going to take a few minutes and talk about the potential floor and ceiling for this team this season. What's going on, Canes fans? I'm sure by now you've already seen the official schedule, and I'm also sure that everybody and their mama has already went through and dissected this thing and talked about how many games Miami's going to win or lose, if we're going to win a national championship or win the ACC for the first time, and we are going to do a little bit of that in my video. Now, you guys know, however, that it's far too early for me to even make a way too early full season prediction. I like to at least let spring football play out, and then we move from there. But keep in mind that it is still fun to discuss these things and to talk about it. So don't shy away from it down in the comment section below. But approach it the way that you feel comfortable doing. I'm not going to hold you accountable to anything you put out in January. I mean, it's literally the first month of the year. So let's just have some fun with it. Let's talk about it. I'm not holding you to anything. But let's jump over and take a look here at the schedule. And I want to talk about some things that really stand out to me with this year's schedule. And then, as I said, we can talk about how we feel about a few of these games and a potential record. So right out of the gate, I have to say this. Thank goodness no Ireland game, no overseas game like Florida State and Georgia Tech. Like, I get that that's cool for exposure and, you know, growing the brand overseas. And for fans that really enjoy traveling, I'm sure it will be an awesome environment. However, it would be tough to judge the outcome of a game like that, just given all of the distractions with having to travel that far. So I'm thankful that Miami is not playing in Ireland. Now, we do open up with the Florida Gators in the Swamp. However, I think that Billy Napier and the Gators are trending down, so hopefully this will be starting off the season with an SEC win for the Canes. Now, I'm not going to break down each and every game, but I just want to hit on some of the big ones. You'll notice here that the orange games are home and the white ones are away. And they do have the dates, but of course it's too early to have the times just yet. So another thing that I noticed with this schedule is it is overall, again in January, pretty favorable in the opening weeks here. I mean, Florida, FAMU, Canes fans are going to feel pretty comfortable with that. Ball State going to feel obviously pretty comfortable, and both of those are at home. USF going to feel pretty comfortable. So a lot of people are probably already predicting another 4-0 start for the Canes, just like we started in 2023 before, well, some things happened that we're not going to repeat in this video. But then we take on Virginia Tech on a Friday. At the very least, this is a home game, and I am going to say that I'm happy that we're playing Virginia Tech again. I think that's always a very fun game. It's a pretty hype atmosphere, and we do get to open with them at home. So I'm very happy about that. I would rather play them at our place than their place, because that can be a dangerous place to play at times. The Cal game is kind of right towards the middle of the season. We are having to travel all the way out to California for that game, so that is kind of scary. I don't know what to expect out of Cal, but we'll see. Another thing that I like about this schedule is we have a bye week after 6 games, and it's a bye week after a very far away game. So we have the bye week after the Cal game. So instead of having after 4 games, like we did last season, we get to have it at the midway point of the regular season after 6, after the lengthy travel to California. So I think that is perfect timing, a much needed rest after that game. So I think that that's actually really, really good placement. Another thing I want to hit on is the fact that we only have 1 weekday game. Thank you. Finally. 1 weekday game. You guys know how I feel about weekday games. Those Thursdays and Fridays, I hate it. A short week, I can't stand it. It's just a recipe for disaster. And the only weekday game we have is that Virginia Tech matchup. And it is a Friday, and it's earlier on in the season. Will be a little more fresh, hopefully less injuries. So overall, I'm not really complaining about that. Now, the FSU game is going to be back at Hard Rock this year, so I'm pretty excited about that. This is going to be Mario's third attempt at trying to get a win over Florida State. We got blown out the first year under Mario. Last year was very close. Miami only lost by 7. I'm going to be feeling much more comfortable going into that Florida State matchup this year. Cam versus DJ. I think it's going to be a pretty fun game. After that, we do get to play Florida State and Duke at home, which is really good. The Mario versus Manny game. This is going to be huge. And the fact that it's at Hard Rock and Manny is traveling back, it's going to be crazy. And, Manny Diaz got Malik Murphy, the Texas quarterback transfer. Now, he's going to be young, and time will tell kind of how that plays out. But that's going to be an electric matchup. Once you can buy tickets, you're going to want to go ahead and get tickets to that game because the media is going to be spinning that thing as Mario versus Manny. I'm going to be doing the same, and that's going to be a super hype game, honestly, regardless of what either team's records are. It's going to be absolutely lit. Georgia Tech, we do have to take them on in Atlanta. That's going to be, a revenge game, a game that we technically did win but just didn't take the knee. It is what it is. Have a chance to take them on again. We do get to play Wake Forest at Hard Rock. Looking forward to that. And then we end the season with Syracuse away up in New York. So a couple of other big points that I want to hit on for the schedule right quick is the fact that we start away and we end away. So I'm not necessarily a huge fan of that, but it's just the way the schedule falls. I like to open with a home game if possible and end with it, especially the final game of the season. Getting to play that last game at the Rock would have been really cool, but I mean, it is what it is. So looking at this thing, really think about this before you type a comment. The realistic floor for this team. So I'm talking about minimum this team should win this many games, no questions asked. And I think the realistic actual floor this season, I want to say 8 or 9. And I'm honestly kind of leaning more towards 9 right now. And again, keeping in mind, so many people get it mixed up on my specific channel. There's realistically what I think will happen and what I want to happen. Let's go ahead and get the stupid disclaimer out of the way for the people who don't listen. I want Miami to win the ACC, and I want Miami to win a national championship. Could that happen in 2024? Absolutely. It's January. We don't realistically know what any of these teams are going to look like. How many people picked Louisville this time last year in 2023 to be playing in the ACC championship game? Probably not many fans outside of Louisville fans, and probably not even a lot of them. So we don't actually know how this thing is going to play out or how good or not good a lot of these teams are going to be. As I said, we've not even seen Cam Ward take a snap in a Miami Hurricanes practice jersey. So we don't really know how this thing is going to play out. But I like to be realistic with my predictions, but I'll always hope for the best. And I'm never trying to be negative, but I predicted 7-5 in 2023, and we went 7-5. In 2024, I want to say this. I do expect Miami to improve once again. It's year 2 with the same OC, same DC. I think that Miami will take another step forward. How big is yet to be determined, but I do think it lifts the expectations a bit, and rightfully so, when you land who was to be considered the top transfer portal quarterback. That's going to make fans say, hey, we went 5-7, then we went 7-5. I think that most fans probably want double-digit regular season wins in 2024, and they're going to expect that. So let's cut to the chase. Let's be blunt here. Year 2 of a divisionless ACC. Expanded playoffs begin in 2024. There is a real opportunity here with this schedule that appears to be pretty favorable on paper in January. Here's how I feel about it right now. I would comfortably say Miami should realistically win 9 games in 2024. That's going to piss off a lot of people because they're going to say, Coop, given all the money that we've pumped in, $8 million a year for Mario, Cam, Ward, there's no way that should happen. But hear me out. Again, we don't really know how good or not good some of these teams are going to be. If I was forced to bet money on it in 2024, I would realistically say 9 wins right now in January, because we play this game every year. I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it at times, not all of you, but some of you. We play this little game where we dissect the schedule game by game, and we find a reason as to why we will win every single one of them. It's very easy to do, right? Hey, look here, I'll just start. We'll play a little game here. Florida. Well, again, Florida's trending down. We should get the dub. This is the year we could possibly even blow out Florida, if I'm being real. FAMU, dub. Ball State, dub. USF, dub, obviously. Virginia Tech could be scary close, but it's at home. We should beat them. Cal, nobody cares about Cal. Yeah, we're traveling away, but we should beat them. Louisville maybe could be a toss-up. Florida State, we only lost by 7 with a freshman quarterback in his second start. They had Jordan Travis. They're going to argue he was banged up. Still, we were driving. Maybe could have went to overtime. We should beat them this year. Duke, I mean, if they play Malik Murphy, I don't know what their quarterback situation looks like. He's going to be a young guy. Manny Diaz's first year. Georgia Tech should have beat them, did basically beat them. Wake Forest should win. Syracuse. You see what I'm saying? It's very easy to do that, and there's nothing wrong with being positive. But what I'm saying here is let's be realistic, and I think that 9 wins is probably a realistic total for this season. Now, we'll see after spring, and we'll have a way better idea as the season approaches, closer to like August, and then obviously once we start playing some games. But I am going to say that I think the floor, and where Canes fans should say minimum needs to happen this season, is 9. We went 5-7. We increased that win total by 2 in 2023, and I think it should jump by 2 again given the circumstances. That 2023 class has a little more experience under their belt. Those guys can come in and make more of an impact this season. And the 2024 class, as excited as I am, I always preach that those guys are going to be freshmen, and there are only going to be a few that are special enough to get a lot of play time in 2024. A lot of those guys are only going to come in garbage time, and that's just facts as they adjust to the college level. So you won't see as big of an impact from all of those guys. But when you factor everything in, plus you look at this schedule, I think Canes fans should be unhappy and pretty upset if Miami wins less than 9 games. So I think the floor, and I'm being, again, realistic, I think should be 9. I think we should take another step forward. Now, the ceiling for this team in 2024, I personally think would, again, realistic, is probably, boy, this is tough. I want to say 11. I want to say 11-1. It would be tough for me to say undefeated, just given, everything going on with the team. I'm a little worried about potential chemistry and things with some of the transfers and stuff coming in. I need to see how Dawson does. Was it TVD holding him back? Was it Dawson being stubborn? Was it Mario having his hands in the offense? How does Guidry's defense look after some of the big departures that we had? So it's tough for me to say that the ceiling would be 12-0 in the regular season. Miami typically gives up one game, an game that they shouldn't lose, and then they lose one other game. So that would make me want to say, 10-2, 11-1, somewhere around in there. But the big focus for me is that floor, which is Miami needs to be winning at least 9 games. Am I saying I'll be happy with that? I don't really know yet. It would be an improvement. It would be a step in the right direction in the win-loss column because it's more wins than it was the previous year. And you also have to factor in how those games are won and lost because that does make a difference. But floor needs to be 9-3. And I do think this team is capable of winning 10 or 11 based on the roster and the way this schedule looks in January. let's not forget that at any point this season. But yeah, Miami could and should start at the very least 4-0. 4-0. Yes, I absolutely do believe that. And really, again, you could argue 5-0 before traveling to Cal and see how Miami does in an away game that's that far away. Because it's interesting when you look at the first 4 games here, 5 games. No, 5 games, yeah. Gainesville is still in Florida. FAMU in the state of Florida. Ball State is going to be a home game, so that game is in the state of Florida. USF is away, but guess what? It's in the state of Florida. Virginia Tech, that's not a Florida team, but it's at Hard Rock. It's in the state of Florida. Miami's first 5 games take place in the state of Florida before Miami has to travel all the way over to California. So, again, starting 5-0 could absolutely be realistic and honestly should happen. It should happen. We'll see if it does. But right now, I would say 9 wins is where I would probably sit at for the floor. And a prediction, this is going to change. I'm just going to be real with y'all. This is going to change. My prediction would be probably 9 wins. I can't even tell you where the wins and losses would be. Again, it's far too early. Far too early. But we'll see. We'll see. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. You can dive in and break it down game by game in January if you want. That's fine if you're ballsy enough to do that. You can just talk about, the floor and the ceiling like I did a little bit. You can talk about a specific game, maybe one you're looking forward to or maybe a little bit worried about what would be a trap game. Let's chop it up. Let's talk about it here for a bit. But I'm very happy with this schedule. Very, very happy with the way that it laid out, the timing of all the games, home and away. I dig it. Honestly, I like it. And don't let opposing teams fans jump in here and laugh and say, ha, look at that strength of schedule and this and that. Guys, it's January. So, again, people might say, well, this team looks real easy, or we don't know what they're really going to look like by the time the season rolls around. Some of these teams that think they have a tough schedule in the opening weeks might be smooth sailing. Some of these teams might be better than people think they are, or vice versa. We'll find out. But again, don't be shy. Let's chop it up. Remember though, guys, we're all one big happy college football family. But at the end of the day, I got to say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. Coach Coop, peace out. I'll see y'all in the next one.